Sartorial kitchen, I'm taking leftovers from a tapas menu I did over at my friend Ruth's house and turning them into 3 unique leftover dishes. I'm starting with a Mexican-style pizza, using my mole sauce as a base, and all the accoutrements from my charcuterie board. Then I'm doing an Italian-style meatball hoagie, adding some sauteed onions and peppers. Then I'm taking my veggie dip and turning it into a Swedish-style meatball over buttered noodles. So why don't you pull up a chair and dine with me? Welcome back, everybody. We are all about leftovers today. So, from my last episode, all those lovely meatballs I made, I'm just reheating those in a little stock pot here. I've got a ton left because I only had a small handful of people show up to my little charcuterie party. But their loss is my gain because I'm going to be turning those meatballs into 3 separate dishes. We're taking a tour of Europe via Spain. And for my first dish, it's going to be some meatball hoagies with a Spanish twist. So I already took all the peppers I had left from my veggie crudité, and I have sliced those nice and thin, and then I'm just going to take an onion here. I've cut both ends off and then sliced it in half, and then I'm just cutting it into nice little small slices. Alright, so my onions and my peppers are going to go into my skillet. The skillet has about 2 tablespoons of butter and oil. The butter, of course, gives us the flavor, and the oil gives us that high cooking temp. And then I'm just gonna give that a little stir, make sure those onion pieces get broken up. And then we're going to start with a little salt and a little pepper. The salt's going to draw all the moisture out of those veggies and help them get nice and tender and caramelized. And they're going to be a nice little topping for our hoagies. Okay, while these onions and peppers continue to cook down, we're going to move on to our next dish. So this is kind of Italy meets Spain. I'm doing a pizza, but it's going to be all Spanish flavors. So this is going to be a meat lovers. I've got all those dried meats from the charcuterie, my chorizo, the mezcal sausage, the bresaola, the serrano, and my cheeses. So what I did, the soft cheese I took and melted in with some of that mole sauce, and I think I'm going to take just a little more here. And I don't want too much sauce. I want just enough to kind of give a nice generous coating here. Just a nice thin layer of the sauce, because I really want all these ingredients here to be the star of the show. And then just taking the back end of my spoon and spreading this out nice and thin. About a couple About 2.5 tablespoons, I think, is what I've got here, and that should be plenty. I don't like when a pizza's too saucy, it makes a mess. So I think that's going to be perfect. Now let's assemble our pizza. Okay, so I'm going to start with a little cheese here. I just took and shredded some of the harder cheeses that I had out on the charcuterie. And I'm just going to do about half this cheese at first for a little base layer. This is the queso that I have just grated. And we're going to do a little of that. Beautiful. Okay, now for the meats. Those I cut into rounds and then kind of in half. This is going to be a very heavy pizza. Lots of meats on a meat lover. So I want to make sure I have room for all of my meats. And this is almost like a paint by numbers. You can kind of do whatever you like here. There's no true formula to this. I just want to make sure each piece has the same kind of flavors and textures going on. I think that's good. And then my mezcal sausage. I'm just going to kind of evenly space that out as well. Alright, I think that's good. Then we'll come in here, the bresaola. This one I'm probably going to break up as well. So I want large pieces of it dominating. Maybe a little more. Good. Okay, so that looks good. The serrano I'm gonna do something a little different with, so I don't want to put that on just yet. But I'm gonna come in here now and do a little more cheese here. A little more of the grated cheese. Make sure we get out to the edges. Some more of this cheese here. And there's no such thing as too much cheese, so feel free to throw as much cheese on here as you like. And I want to get some of this cheese as well. This one I did not grate yet because I kind of want it to let you guys see it. And I'm doing a finer grate on this. So I have different kind of degrees of the cheese. Alright, that looks good, guys. And then the serrano. Since it's larger pieces, I'm just going to kind of break that in half. And I just kind of want to like judicially kind of shape that on top here. Just kind of free form it. And get a little artistic with it, do some shapes. Like such. Great, and I've got just enough left. We'll do one more piece here. And then I'll do one piece in the middle. And I think we are good to go. This is going to go in my oven. I've already preheated it to 425. It's gonna cook for about 10 to 12 minutes just until that cheese is nice and bubbly and this ham on top is gonna get nice and crisp. And we'll be ready to cut into that. Okay. Yeah, those meatballs are steaming. I think they're good and hot now. And those onions and peppers are nice and blistered. So we can take them off the heat. And we can prep our buns. Okay, our pizza is just about done. So I've got my buns here. These are just little hoagie buns that I've toasted up in the oven with a little olive oil and some garlic salt. I'm gonna turn them over. Oh, look at that. Beautiful, beautiful golden brown. Love it. Okay, so what I'm gonna do here to start is take a little more of the sauce from that I use for the pizza. And you don't need much really, because I don't want my bread to get soggy. Maybe about a half teaspoon or so. Just a teeny little bit of that. Alright, then I'm going to come in here with my tongs and just get a little bit of this onion and pepper mixture. I don't want too much on here, so I'm going to leave room for the meatballs. I think that's good, and then one more here. Gorgeous. And then we'll come and get our meatballs here. And I'm using my tongs. I don't want to get too much of that sauce. They're already pretty saucy balls. Depending on how big, because these aren't all uniform size. I was gonna see you may be able to get 3 or 4, but I think 3 is gonna be good. And then we'll save the rest for my final dish. Okay, time for some more cheese. We're gonna sprinkle a little more of that harder cheese here. And if some spills on the top part, who cares? Can't have too much cheese. Okay. I think that'll be just fine. Try and get it off the pan so it doesn't burn. And then a little more of the grated cheese. Just kind of sprinkle that all over. And that's going to go back into my oven for a few minutes, just until that cheese gets nice and melted on top. And in the meantime, I think our pizza is ready to come out. And yes, it is. Ooh, guys, that is gorgeous. And that ham is nice and crisp. All right, I like as much cheese as I can get. So I'm going to sprinkle a little more of this fresh on top. And then to break up this earthy color scheme, I'm going to take a little parsley here and just give us a little zhuzh of that. And I would say that is a nice pizza pie. Let's dig in. All right, that is sliced up. That's gonna get me a nice little piece here. You see that crust is nice and baked through on the bottom, and then you got all those lovely flavors going on. So good. The saltiness of the cheese plays nicely with the saltiness of that cured meat. The cheese kind of quells the heat of that mole sauce. It's not too abrasive. I love the crisp of that ham on top. So good. This is a nice hearty pizza. So I'm gonna clean this up, and then I think our hoagies are gonna be ready to come out of the oven. Oh yeah. Guys, those look incredible. I'm gonna let them cool down just a little so I don't singe my tongue, and we'll give it a taste. Okay guys, I think this has cooled down enough. We can give it a little taste. That bread has gotten nice and toasted. And that cheese is nice and bubbly. I'm just gonna come in here and it's so good. Yeah. The onions and peppers give a nice little texture. The crispiness of the bread. The meatballs are still nice and moist, considering they've been reheated. Of course, you can't go wrong with anything that's got this much cheese on it. So good. I'm gonna finish eating this up. And then I have one more dish to show you, so stay tuned. All right, so we've taken Spain through Italy. Now we're going all the way up to Sweden. So for the rest of my meatballs here, and I've just turned that down to a low heat because they're already good and hot. I've got some noodles cooking and just some salted boiling water. They are just about there. And I've got, this is the rest of that zesty ranch that I served with my veggie tray. So Swedish meatballs, it's usually like a mushroom gravy, beef stock, and then they take some kind of yogurt or sour cream to turn it into like a creamy dressing. And a lot of people at the party who thought the meatballs were too hot were already kind of digging these two together on their plates. So I thought, why not just combine the two and make a whole nother dish here? So that's exactly what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna stir this in just until it's well incorporated, and let it come up to a bubble, because I want to make sure that gets cooked through and doesn't cool this down too much. And you can already see we're getting a really lovely color out of this now. And just let that stir in. That looks really good. Okay, I'm gonna let that do its thing, and our noodles should be ready to drain. So I'm gonna take that off the heat and bring that over here. I've already got my pasta strainer out. I'm just gonna drain these noodles. Okay, I think that's pretty good there. If a little water stays behind, that's okay, because that pasta water is only gonna thicken the sauce we've already got going. And then I'm just gonna take this back over. And I like to butter my noodles. So I'm gonna take a couple tablespoons of butter there. And just a little more of my garlic salt. And a little oil as well. So I really want these noodles to have good flavor. Just stir that together until the butter is melted. And then there's two ways you can do this. You can dump it all together and mix it in. Make almost a goulash of sorts. But I think what I'm going to do is just plate up my noodles like so. And then I'm gonna take some of my meatballs here with the sauce on top. And 4 should be good. And just a little more sauce. Then I'm going to take a little more of my cheese here. And a little more parsley for color. And just sprinkle a little of that on top. And there we have it. Alright, let's dig in here. We'll get some of those noodles first. With some of that sauce. Oh yeah. Yeah, it just has a nice creaminess to it now. The heat has really quelled down. It's not nearly as abrasive. The meatballs are still good and tender. So good. Okay, so I'm gonna finish up here. But I have one more treat for you. During the party, my friend Tex took some of the olive brine from the marinated olives I brought and created an entirely new cocktail, which is sort of a repurposing of sorts. So I wanted to share that with you guys as well, so stay tuned. And I will see you next time.
Go. I'll put a little bit of vermouth, not a whole lot. We don't want it to overpower the drink. The main ingredient, of course, the vodka. We'll do it 2 count here.
And that's the 1 Mississippi count.
And this delicious tangerine.
The olive brine.
On that, make it dirty. That's right.
And you just shake it up.
glass chilling.
Oh, I like that, because then you just get the little discoloration from the olive wine. And then garnish it.
And of course, put an olive in there.
And that is a dirty martini upgraded. Oh, that looks great.
Cheers.
Yeah.